Hi, welcome back to Wayfinder Field Skills. In today's video I'll be going over a review of the base plate compass. I have several compasses from two of the leading compass manufacturers, SILVA and Suunto, and I'll be going over how they work, the various features and what sets the different models apart from each other. Alright, let's get after it. Okay, so what is a base plate compass? A base plate compass combines a protractor and compass into one unit. This improves on the design of traditional prismatic compasses. A protractor in navigation is simply a funny shaped ruler. It has various scales and markings on it, allowing you to get grid references or measure distances on a map. Now, a dedicated protractor is definitely more accurate and faster to use than using a base plate compass, and for some uses, you can't really replicate what you can do with a protractor, but for just walking around the bush, this is all you need. Not all base plate compasses are created equal, however, so I'll go over the features of each one and how they work, and we'll have a look at the different features that you might or might not need for what you want it for, and we'll see what sets them apart and what I think is necessary in a base plate compass. A base plate compass is basically made up of two major parts: the base plate itself and the compass and compass housing. So first, looking at the base plate. Now, on the base plate you can see it has various roamers. Roamers are these scales here on the corner that are used primarily for getting grid coordinates or grid references off your map, but you can also use them to measure distance. And they are in different scales. So you've got 1 to 25,000, 1 to 50,000 and 1 to 40,000 on this particular compass here. It also has a millimetre scale, which you can use for measuring distances or just for measuring on a map, and an inch scale as well for different scales of maps. In the centre here it has this directional arrow, and at the base of the directional arrow is what's called a lubber line. There is also this magnifying lens which can help people who wear glasses to see small details on a map more easily. And if turning the base plate over, there are these rubberized bubbles here which make the base plate sit on the map without sliding around, which aids in getting accurate grid references or taking accurate measurements of distance, etc. Moving on to the compass housing itself. So the working parts of the compass are encompassed, you like that, inside this housing here. So you have this rotating bezel, and inside of that you have the magnetic needle, which indicates magnetic north. Also part of this housing, if you look inside, you can see on the base of this it has these red and black lines. These are called orienting lines, and when you take a bearing or a heading off a map, they are used to align those lines with the grid lines on your map to ensure that you're accurately taking a bearing. You can see in the centre of those orienting lines there is the red arrow pointing at the top and the two luminous strips that are to either side of that, and that's to aid in navigating at night. Also inside of this housing there is what's called an inclinometer. So it's simply just a little arrow inscribed on a plastic card which will fall naturally towards downwards. So with that I can measure the angle of a slope, and inscribed on this base plate here is all the angles. To do that I'd simply rotate this around so that the orienting dial or the rotating dial is pointing east-west, and I just align the compass with the angle of the slope that I'm on, and I'll be able to get a reading of the slope that I'm on. You can see, looking at the base plate, it also has not only just this luminous lubber line here, but also has another luminous point here, and you can use this when navigating at night or taking bearings in low light, that you can line those up and get an effective bearing, making this a day and night usable tool. So you can see it's a fairly simple tool. There are a few parts to it, and there are some common parts and a few different features of different compasses, and I'll go over that with some of the different compasses. As I said at the start, I have several compasses from both Suunto and SILVA, and both of these companies make excellent compasses, but they have various different models that have different features and come in at varying price points. All in all, I have 6 compasses, 2 Suunto compasses and 4 SILVA compasses to go through today. The first one here is this SILVA. Now, this model varies in price a little bit, but it's around about $300, which is a lot of money to spend on a compass. Now this is a military specific compass, and there's a couple of things that set it apart. One, it has this prismatic sighting window, which directs your vision down onto a smaller rotating plate inside of the compass housing, which has finer graduations, which is good for getting very fine angles on it. Another thing that sets this compass apart is basically this symbol here. Yep, it's a radiation symbol. That indicates, and I spent more than a decade in the military and never really questioned this or what it was about. Just found out recently that it is what the luminescence inside of this compass is slightly radioactive, hence the radiation symbol, and I think that might account for the price of this particular compass. If you have a close look too, you can also see that it's not marked in degrees, it's actually marked in what's called mils, which is just a different system of angles that is used in some militaries around the world. The next one, it's the same except it doesn't have the prismatic sighting window. Once again, it has this little radiation symbol, and I'm not sure exactly how much one like this costs. I've had this for quite a long time, but you'll probably find it's a bit more expensive than other comparative compasses to it. As with the one before it, this one is also marked in mils, but it has a degree scale inside the compass housing as well. Other than that, it's quite basic, has nothing more or less than than what I went over with the original compass that we were looking at before. Now, aside from the prismatic sighting window in the first one, these compasses don't do anything special, and they have all the markings and everything you might need for almost any range of navigation that you can think of, up to and including expedition type of events. They're really reliable. In fact, all of these compasses are very reliable. The original one with the prismatic sighting window, I've had it for 15 years and I've used it heaps. It still works just fine. I have heard of people breaking them, but honestly, I think that's you're either really unlucky and fall on it, or you mistreat them and maybe tread on them or something like that. These things are well built to withstand the rigours of everyday navigational use in the field. Now, the next most expensive compass is this Suunto compass here. Now, these go for about $130. It has this sighting mirror here. One of the functions of this is you'll angle the mirror at about 45 degrees, which allows you to look through this small aperture here at whatever it is that you're aiming at, and you can still read the graduated dial, so you can get a nice accurate reading quite quickly. You could also use this for signalling airplanes in emergency or something like that, and something that I like is when it's closed, it helps to protect this, adding just another layer of durability to this particular compass. Now, some of the other features of this particular compass are it's got what's called a globally balanced needle. So some compasses will say they're for the magnetic southern hemisphere or magnetic northern hemisphere, or for equatorial regions. I don't fully understand all the differences. The way I understand it is if you're in a different part of the planet, say you have a magnetic south needle and you're in the magnetic northern hemisphere, then it might be pulling the needle down like off angle, which might cause it to be a little slow in reading. To be honest, I don't think it's 100% necessary, but I guess a nice bit of assurance to know that this will work anywhere you are in the world. You don't need different compasses. I know this compass also has an inclinometer, the same as the first compass I showed you. It also has markings on the side of this mirror housing here, which are slope angle indicators. So depending on how far apart the contour lines on your map are, you can get a good reading of what the angle of the slope is. Now, this can be pretty useful and to just get a quick gauge of just how steep or how flat the land is that you're going to be travelling over. There is, of course, other ways to do it, but I think that's a nice little addition. Another thing that this compass has, it's really well constructed and feels very nice to use. It has this luminescence around the whole dial here, so at night you'll still be able to read the whole magnetic or the whole angular dial without having to turn on a torch, and that's pretty nice. It has all the same markings as the Silva has, more or less, on the base plate here. So it has a centimetre scale rather than a millimetre scale, but comes to the same thing. An inch scale. It also has a 1 to 50,000 and a 1 to 25,000 Roma incorporated here. It's just inset slightly from the edge of the base plate. But all in all, This is a very nice compass. Now these next two, one is a Silva and one is a Suunto, are about the same price. You can get them for $70 or $80, and they're very comparative, I think, in terms of design and features, and they probably would be the standard, the go-to for almost anyone who wants a really nice compass to use. The main difference is in the layout of the base plate, which was the same as the previous compass. So what you'll see here is this one has an inch scale on the side here and a centimetre scale, while this one has a millimetre scale and an inch scale. Much of a muchness really. But then the Roma on this Suunto compass is inset to the base plate, and it incorporates a 1 to 50,000 and a 1 to 25,000 Roma into one unit, whilst the Silva compass has its Romas here on this corner with a 1 to 25,000 Roma to the outside, a 1 to 50,000 sitting inside of that, and a 1 to 40,000 sitting inside of that. They both have a magnifying lens. They both have the little rubberized feet to stop them from slipping across your map. Another thing that these both have is the ability to offset your graduated dial to account for magnetic declination. So this means you would offset that, and then when you swap between a grid bearing or a magnetic bearing, you shouldn't have to make any adjustments on your compass. Personally, I don't use that function. I always swap between the two manually. The reason being is because I often navigate in different areas, and I don't want to leave magnetic declination setting on a compass and go somewhere else and have it incorrect and not know and have errors in my navigation because of it. So that's why I don't use that, but it is a very nice function. I think the fact that this Suunto has this luminescence around its graduated dial allowing you to read your bearing at night is a pretty nice feature, which the Silva is lacking. But I really do prefer the layout of the Roma on the Silva compasses over the top of the way it is set up in these Suuntos. It's more of a preference issue. Other than that, they're very comparative, both excellent compasses, and they are what I would say would be the go-to standard for any serious navigator. Now, the last one here is the cheapie of the bunch. I picked this up for $35. You can get cheaper compasses from different brands. This is a Silva once again, down to as little as $12 or $15. However, a little hard to find. $35. This is lacking some features. It doesn't have a Roma. It does have a millimetre scale, and you can use a millimetre scale to get your grid references. But aside from that, it has everything you need for your normal point-to-point or normal bush navigation. You can set a bearing on it. You can get a bearing off your map with this from a point to a point, and then reset it according to your magnetic variation that is local to the area you're in, and navigate to another point. So this will work just fine. $35. You don't need to spend the earth, and it has the same build quality as all the other Silva compasses, which is, I've got faith that this is a very durable, good quality piece of equipment that will last you years, unless, of course, you tread on it or something like that. Now, by now, you might be wondering, why the hell do I have 6 compasses? Well, it just so happens that I teach navigation. I run navigation courses. I have a business called Wayfinder Field Skills, which matches, of course, the YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning more or want to come on one of my courses, have a look at wayfinder.com.au. So that is spelt way-finder.com.au. Anyway, I thought that was a nice little segue to plug my business. Now it's time to put my money where my mouth is, and if I had to buy one compass right now, which compass would I buy? For me, it would be this Silva compass. Why? Basically because of the layout of the base plate. I really like the way these Romas are laid out and the ease of use of them. I find them just a little bit easier to use than the Suunto Romas. That being said, Suuntos are excellent compasses too. In fact, in some ways the Suuntos feel a little nicer to use, and I do love the luminescent graduated dial. It's a very, it's quite a picky, fussy thing. For me, the killer is just these Romas on the edge. I'm so used to using them like that. With this, I don't need a protractor. I can navigate anywhere. Any of the navigation that I like to do can be done simply with this compass. I don't need another piece of equipment. Another really nice thing that actually comes with this particular compass, and I think it's starting to be fairly commonplace amongst the Silva line, is this lanyard has a distance scale marked on it. So you've got 1 to 50,000 and 1 to 25,000. Now, yeah, for most navigation, I just get my distances off my Roma, but if you have a curved distance, like along a road or something like that you want to measure, it can be, there's a couple of workarounds, but it can be a bit of a pain to do that using the Roma or using your millimetre scale on the edge of the compass. Having this ribbon as your distance scale solves that problem for you very easily, as you can just lay it along the map following the contours of that road or that contour line or whatever it is, whatever curved distance it is that you're trying to measure. So that's pretty cool that they have this. Anyway, so there it is, both Suunto and SILVA, excellent compasses. You can get them down to quite a low price point or go nuts, spend hundreds of dollars if you wish. But to be honest, for as little as $35, I think you can get yourself a fantastic compass that'll do everything you need to do for general hiking around the bush and bush navigation, particularly if it's something you're just going to keep in your pack for a safety means, for something for safety. Should you be bushwalking, get a bit lost and want to get a bearing to try and find your way back to a track or something like that. If you managed to get this far, I hope you found this interesting and informative. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you'd like to hear more from me, please subscribe to my channel. And also, if there's anything you'd like me to cover in any of my videos, please let me know in comments. I was actually asked to cover off on compasses a couple of weeks ago in comments, so thanks very much for asking that question, and here's the video for that now. All right, whatever it is that you're into, I hope you're getting after it. Thanks very much for watching, and have a nice day.